Biotech. So you're with them, huh? Well, I gotta be honest with you. I wasn't expecting to hear from you so soon. I mean, after all, the race only just ended. I thought you'd give me a day or so before you showed up. You or whoever else wanted to sponsor me. Yes, well, Biotech has actually taken what you might call a special interest in your case, and is very intrigued in you. However, before any hard business is taken care of, we wish to do some preliminary questioning. Find out a little bit more about who you are. We don't just make these offers to everyone, you know. There are a great many people who claim victory in the Black Label races. But this is the first time that anyone has ever been offered a sponsorship by Biotech themselves. As the most powerful company in Newgate City, we hold ourselves to a much higher standard. So, if you have the time, we could go over a few questions. Nothing complicated, just a few very simple things, so we can find out whether my employer is truly interested in you or not. Okay, I said, questioning everything. Really, her arrival was suspect to say the least, especially after that race. That, even for the Black Label races, was anything but normal. Fine. Lilith, was it? Sure, come in. Me and my team were just having a few drinks and talking things over. So I suppose you couldn't have chosen a better time, I said, opening the door a little wider and letting her in. She walked in, striding fairly gracefully, with intent and purpose in the way she moved. This ever-present professional persona emoted with her every action. She held her clipboard tight in front of her, adjusting her glasses after stepping towards the center of the room. So, you must be Mr. Jack's race team, his compatriots, so to speak. I'd say quite an interesting group, at least by appearance standards. Not what I was expecting. I closed the door behind her, walking over to the other end of the room and grabbing one of the spare chairs. Here you go. You can have a seat, I said as I walked back to the group, grabbing a chair and taking a seat of my own. She sat down. I had the chairs positioned so that we were looking directly at each other, and Emily and the others were around me, behind me, sort of backing me up. Emotional support and things like that. So, you said you have a few questions for me before you decide whether or not Biotech Industries is interested in sponsoring me. So, what are these questions? I'd kind of like to get this over with. If you didn't notice, I had a fairly rough day. To be honest, I'm still sore all over. So, lengthy conversations about business aren't something that I really feel like having. But I realize that they're important to important people. So, bothersome or not, I suppose I have to have it. But if you could, cut to the point. Let's not make this take longer than it needs to. We're a bit testy, aren't we? Lilith said, looking across, adjusting her glasses as she looked at me. You look somewhat familiar. Have I seen you somewhere before? Sorry, don't think so. People from inside the walls rarely venture out. And as far as I know, I've never been inside the walls, so the chances that we've met are basically non-existent. As far as you know? That's an interesting statement. Most people would be rather sure whether they'd been inside the walls or not. Well, Just being clear about this, it's a subject that I don't really want to delve into. But truth be told, there is a portion of my life which I simply can't account for. Do I believe that I was inside the walls? Yeah, right. Trust me, where I was, the fact that I'm kind of lacking in memory from a certain point back makes a whole lot of sense. I could explain it to you, but once again, I don't feel like getting into it. But just for the sake of argument, assume that I don't remember anything before I was about 8 years old. Anything before that time frame is just a blank. I've got nothing. As crappy as that is, my earliest memory is waking up in a cage and being fought like a dog. To tell the truth, I don't know whether I hate my parents or whether I ever had them at all. Or maybe they were nice people and I was stolen or something like that. Truth is, I don't know. So I can't really make any deciding factors on that. Any decision would just be a guess. But they probably fall into one of three categories. Either they were brutally murdered and I was stolen, they sold me off and think I'm dead, or the one that all orphans dream about as they coddle themselves to sleep in the gutter. That there are actually loving, kind-hearted, warm parents out there just waiting for me to come back. Yeah, it's every orphan's dream. I've had it just like the rest of them. But it's probably a load of crap. Chances are my parents are either crappy or dead. Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that, Lilith replied. Such a tragic set of circumstances. But you certainly have come far, haven't you? Lady, come far barely even starts to describe it. In truth, I haven't gone anywhere. I've spent my entire life scraping around for nothing, trying to live day by day. Even winning the Black Label races isn't really getting somewhere. It's just getting out of nowhere. An interesting response, she said, looking at me curiously, and was feeling like she was weighing me up. Are these questions important? Yes, I assure you, all of the questions that I'm asking are very important. Assessing your psychological state is important to finding out whether you can be trusted, whether you can be relied on, whether you're a good soldier or a renegade, whether you're angry or sad, happy or mad. It all matters. My employer needs to have a picture of who you are if he's going to employ you. So, as for my next question, tell me, Mr. Jax, is that your actual name or some sort of nickname? Do you have a last name? Ugh, I sighed, frustrated with this pointless series of questions. No last name. It's just Jax. That's all I've got. And as far as I know, no, it's not my real name. I don't remember my real name. Jax is just sort of a name I, came by. Once again, it's a story I'd rather not get into. Okay, interesting, she replied, still sitting, staring in that chair, unswayed by anything. Next question. Let me ask you, Mr. Jax, do you like violence? I mean, the Black Label races are a very violent occurrence. Is this simply your preference? Do you enjoy it? No, not really. To be honest, violence is not something that I indulge in. Don't get me wrong, I'm damn good at it, but that's more a matter of necessity than enjoyment. The world is a harsh and often cruel place. Those who aren't strong enough to survive in it usually end up dead, regardless of whether they're good or bad. being capable of violence is simply necessary.